See, you re-taught me what I learned in kindergarten when I first heard about your network, and you had Glenn Kirshner and Frank Flaguzzi, and I was like, but those are mine. Oh, ours. They're ours. Now they're ours. They're all ours. So he obviously is. I love what you said. I read your tweets almost every day on the air. But you said during Russiagate I was labeled an alarmist, and during the insurrection investigation I'm labeled hope porn. Thank you to everyone who has trusted me. It's been weird. I mean, I understand because I'm a little in the Veruca Salt, Lawrence Tribe caucus where I'm impatient. But
Debbie, I want it now!
But I understand what you and Glenn and again, a lot of other people that I respect were heartened by Garland's speech this week, right? Neil Katyal, Joyce Vance, Barbara McQuaid, everybody we love. Tell me why you were heartened by what Garland said and presumably what President Biden said yesterday.
Well, it's been hard. I got a little Veruca Salt in me too. I was looking through my tweets on Insurrection Day, and I was like, Trump has to be prosecuted. The leaders of this is insurrection. This is an insurrection. They have to be held accountable. They must be held accountable. And, it's hard to know how long something like this investigation will take because we've never seen anything like it in the history of our country. So we don't really have anything to compare it to. Like, wasn't like last season's insurrection that we can compare it to. So we're sort of flying blind. And of course, with the Department of Justice having to remain silent about ongoing investigations, it leaves a vacuum open for people to fill in the blanks, and politics abhors a vacuum. So I've been pushing back a little bit on folks like, please be patient. We can have criticisms of the Department of Justice, like why haven't they brought obstruction of justice charges from the Mueller investigation? Or why are they repping the president in the E. Jean Carroll case? But to just whole cloth bash the institution, I think is very dangerous. It's, part of chapter 2 of On Tyranny. You want to defend our institutions. And Trump was the one who was trying to take those apart, and we don't want to help them. But so I've been pushing back pretty vehemently, like, hey, we have to have some patience. We have to. Yeah. It's a bottom-up case. He's building a pyramid of guilt, and we don't know what the Department of Justice is doing. They might just not be to the Trumps and the leaders yet. They started with. Yeah. This is like a 10,000 defendant investigation, and you're talking about the top 5. So. I've been very vocal about that, and Garland came out and basically it felt like he was defending everything I've been saying.
Yeah,
yeah. 6 months. It was nice, and also I hope he assuaged some real and reasonable concern that the public has. I'm not saying there shouldn't be any concern either. You know?
Well, yeah. You said, will anyone realize when Garland doesn't name names today, you'll be upset because some folks here on Twitter have actually convinced you that if Garland doesn't break DOJ policy and discuss ongoing investigations, that you should consider him a failure. So that part I get. The part I brought up with Glenn is people making the Watergate comparison and saying, oh, well, took 2 years. What Joe Weinbanks, our other friend, has talked about too, though, is that, that was in secret, and we found the secret tape and that's what blew it up and blah, blah, blah. You can go through the whole history of it. This has all been out in the open all along, right? On tape. Not just the insurrectionists, but, the Georgia phone call. I mean, I think that's what us non-lawyers are thinking, right? Like, it's all there. This is a different technology, different social media era than Watergate. What is taking so long? Do you get that point of view?
I totally do. and my, the only response I have to that is exactly what Garland had brought up, 15 terabytes to pour through, 20,000 hours of video. Those things have to be done before you can get charges. And I don't know if Glenn talked about this, but yeah, I mean, we have a lot of the evidence out in the open, but you have to go through all the pieces of evidence because you can't file charges and bring a case if you haven't got all the evidence, because you have to give it to the defense. Otherwise, you're in violation of some Brady rules. And you can't add new evidence for the same crime for a superseding indictment later. Of course, that the other argument that, that I think a lot of folks make is, hey, do one crime then, the Raffensperger call. I mean, there's plenty of evidence there. I guess that's just not how this particular prosecution is being followed, because they don't even know if it's RICO charges, you're going to have to be able to connect all these dots. So That's Garland just saying, hey, I'm going to get all the evidence before I even decide what kind of charges to bring.
Yeah. Well, you do this is your daily, you say, though, how do you know how you say, this is my daily ask. Why aren't, the 10 obstruction of justice charges being prosecuted? Because that's what I wonder. I mean, is this all going to be part of one huge thing, or are they just letting that go? And how does that work? No, none of the rest of us would get away with 10 counts of obstruction of justice, right?
No, and I've thought that like maybe this is part of an entire thing, but that just doesn't make any sense to me. It's got to be a separate case. And the only thing I can think is that it's a big investigation. It's actually a big case, and they've got to get all the underlying Mueller information, not just the report. They would have to get all of that evidence. They would have to compile it. They would have to conduct interviews. They didn't get the Don McGahn testimony until May of this year.
Yeah.
And Matthew Graves, who is the public corruption expert prosecutor, new DC U.S. attorney, just got there November 5th because of pushback and delays from Hawley and Ted Cruz. So that's the only thing I could think of as to why. But there is no other reason. There's no good reason why those haven't been, at least the 4 McGahn, where they have all met all 3 elements of criminal obstruction of justice. There's 4 counts of those. Why those haven't been brought, why those charges haven't been brought. I don't understand. We've got the statute of limitations coming up in May or June.
Yeah. Well, okay. You had one of Barb McQuaid's tweet you pointed to in particular. You said, Barb said, this quote has 2 important components. DOJ is looking at the leaders and organizers up to the highest levels, and 2, framing the harm as the assault on our democracy suggests they are looking beyond the events of January 6th alone. And you said this addresses the concern about Garland starting with the attack on the Capitol, which would be a bad sign because, as you also say, keep in mind the DOJ IG has been investigating part of the bloodless coup since 1/6, and Garland has agreed to take his recommendations. So that was a concern, that this was just the Hail Mary at the end of the coup plot January 6th, right? This was, so if we had heard he was just focusing on that, that would have been the most disturbing thing, right?
Right, and I think that's what gave a lot of people pause about Garland's remarks, myself included. And I know Ellie Mistal had brought up this issue. And I actually talk about it with Pete Strzok this Sunday on Mueller. She wrote that why did he start? Why did he open with the attack on January 6th? Right. But there were other quotes, as you brought up and as Barb brought up, within his remarks that suggest that this is bigger than just the coup. I think Maddow even had some concerns about it, which was surprising to me because she's generally not an alarmist. But these are, again, real and legitimate concerns. And the best thing, not the best thing, the only thing we can do is wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I know. And as the head of the Veruca Salt's caucus, that's why I need you and Glenn to just talk me down a little bit. But you do. I think Travis? I quote at least one of your tweets a day just because.
All the time.
Wait, now, so have you done this Pete Strzok interview yet, or?
Yeah, it's in the can and it'll come out Sunday.
Interesting. What is his take?
He thought the remarks were great, pretty much sort of similar to what folks like Jill Wine-Banks and Barb and Joyce Vance are saying. These are great. He's covered that. The only things that were missing for him were, first of all, again, why did he start with the attack on January 6th? That implies you're only looking at the bloody part of the coup, and then, but not necessarily not the leaders, because he was very clear. Let's be clear. Garland was very clear that he's going to go after the leaders of this coup. Yeah. But that it's more than just that day. And also said, I really wish he would have talked about, he brought up 5,000 subpoenas and 20,000 hours of videotape and all these things. And he thought 5,000 was a low number of subpoenas for this size of a case. And that says to him that the department might not have the resources it needs. And so that's what he wanted to hear about, is who's going over. Do you have enough people to look at 20,000 hours of video? How are you resourcing this? Where's the urgency? I want to hear about what you're putting on this and why, because it's the most important thing. And he felt that was missing too.
Yeah. They are cannot miss podcasts, Mueller, She Wrote, and the Daily Beans, mswmedia.com and sexyliberal.com. You can find all of the smartest, the funniest, the best liberal podcasts in the country there. We've got Hal and John and Frangela and Bob Seska and me and so AG. Just so we love tweeted each other over the holidays. You included me in a love tweet, and I love tweeted back to you. And then, I don't know, Dana Goldberg got jealous, and then it became a whole thing.
That got uncomfortable.
But listen, there's nothing but love to go around. Feel better, honey, and so happy and so proud to be fighting the good fight with you. Mwah. Get some sleep.
Mm-hmm.